Welcome, everyone, for another episode of the Blind Judgment Podcast. My name is Hugh. This is Jay.
Hey.
And we cover bizarre true crime cases. If this is your first time joining us, we start off each episode with a series of photos that are somehow related to the crime. And my clueless co-host over here will use them to figure out either what this case is about or what the case is. So with that, I sent you the pictures. Take a look.
Okay, maybe one day you can airdrop them to me like a normal person, but whatever.
All right, we're working on it. We'll get there.
And a quick reminder here that all of the photos that we talk about on this show are linked in the show notes. So if you want to see what we see, go check them out. All right, so the first photo is the silhouette of what looks like two boys or two men. Embracing, yep, and they're staring off into the sunset. And then the second photo is someone playing an electric guitar, maybe like on stage performing. Third photo looks like it's just a panoramic view of some mountaintops and some pine trees. To me, it looks like Colorado. In the fourth photo, we have like a cabin. So now with the fireplace on. And so it looks like for sure maybe somewhere cold is what I'm thinking. And in the fifth photo, we have another man. And it looks like he's hiking in the woods with a red backpack on. Okay. So I have no idea what case this might be. Surprise, surprise. So my theory about what I think happened is, let's see. Now, this may be a little out there, but I think it makes sense given the clues I was given. But I think that two dudes went out on a hiking trip and they were staying out in the woods in a very small cabin. And in order to pass the time, one of them brought a guitar and, they're learning how to play the guitar and maybe they played the entire night playing songs that the other person hated. And therefore, that other person whacked the guitar player and then hiked out of the woods alone. Okay. That's my final answer. That's what I think happened.
I think that this is a really good assumption based off of the clues that I sent you.
Oh, why thank you.
So let's get started with the case, and then we will see how close you were. So this week, we are going to be covering the Joshua Maddox case. Have you heard that name before?
I have not.
Okay, well, perfect. So to start off, I'm going to show you some photos of Josh.
Oh, okay.
All right, so here are the pictures of him here.
All right, so
yeah, he's like a young hippie rocker dude.
Okay, so this makes sense. Here's where the picture of the guy with the guitar comes into play, I presume. Cool, young look, grunge looking dude.
Yeah, definitely the long hair.
What time period are we in?
This is the late aughts.
The late aughts. Nobody talks like that. What does that mean?
And the late 2000s.
Ah, the late aughts.
The late aughts.
Yeah. You got any more photos for me?
Not at this point.
Was he in a band?
Yeah, he had a band with his friends. He loved playing the guitar, loved music.
Okay.
All right, so Josh was born on March 9th of 1990. And he lived in a small town in Colorado called Woodland Park. It's kind of like in the Colorado Springs area. It's just like a little mountain town. It's actually part of the Pike National Forest.
Are you impressed with the fact that I was able to tell that was Colorado just by looking at some trees?
Baby, I'm always impressed.
All right, cool. Carry on then.
So when he was young, his parents got divorced, and his dad, Mike, received custody of Joshua, his older brother, Zach, and his sisters, Ruth and Katie. Josh was particularly close to his older brother. He was 2 years older than him. And they enjoyed spending time together and playing guitar. Josh was a particularly good guitar player. I mean, you saw in the pictures, He's really passionate about music, passionate about playing his guitar.
I mean, you just showed me a picture of him holding a guitar, and I could only see the neck of the guitar.
Okay, mellow out.
Well, I didn't see a lot of passion is what I'm saying, okay?
Okay, well, I'm telling you right now, he's really passionate.
You're overselling those photos, okay?
Okay, so he was really into music. He's a super outdoorsy kid. Josh could often be found in the woods playing music, journaling. He found like a lot of solace in being out in the woods, being out in nature. He loves to camp, especially with his friends. He's a really well-liked kid. He was actually kind of like the class clown. He really liked to pull pranks. There's actually this one story where the school choir was performing, and now he wasn't a member of the choir, but he ended up stealing a robe, and then he jumped on stage with them while they were performing. He started like messing around. So he's kind of a goofy, happy kid.
I like that.
Yeah. So in 2006, things take a turn for Joshua and his family when, at the age of 18, his brother Zachary took his own life. He had been battling depression for a long time, but he really kept it from his family. So this came as it was a huge shock to everyone, especially Josh, because they were extremely close. And he really thought like the world of his older brother. In the years that follow, the family is just really trying their best to heal and move on, and things are starting to look up again. So on May 8th of 2008, Josh decides to go for a walk. So where they live in is this like heavily wooded area. Again, this town is in the middle of this national forest. So it's very, very woodsy, very woody. But that's really not a concern for Josh because he's kind of an expert when it comes to hiking. He's been doing this whole life. He grew up in the area, etc. So he tells his sister that he's going to go for a walk. And that night, he never returns home. So his family starts to worry. But again, he's a skilled hiker and outdoorsman, so they just assume that he'll eventually make it back. Or maybe he decided to camp that night. Also, Josh is about 18 at this point, so he's an adult, and adults can also go off and do whatever they want. So after 5 days, this is May 13th now, his father finally reports him missing. For months, they search for Josh. They search in Colorado Springs, they search in Denver, they search in homeless camps. His family, hopes or they assume that he just, decided to skip town. I mean, he's a musician, so maybe he decided that he wanted to start a new life, maybe start a band. And his whole life, he always talked about wanting to get out of Colorado. So they just believed that he kind of went off on his own. But then again, he didn't take any of his stuff. He didn't take his guitar, any music, nothing. So months turn into years, and Josh's family still have never heard from him. And one of his sisters says that she does find it odd that he has never reached out, but she also wouldn't be surprised if one day he just showed up at her dad's house with a wife and kids, and it would be like nothing ever happened.
What?
Yeah. I mean, this was their hope. This is what they had to cling on to. I mean, they can't find him. He's missing.
Yeah.
So what can you do when you're in that position,
Yeah, I guess.
This is what they are left with. Until 7 years later, the family is notified that there has been a break in his missing persons case.
Okay.
So where are you at right now? What are you thinking?
I guess, so I find it interesting that the family has all these hopes and assumptions that he just kind of disappeared without telling them anything. I don't know again, they were just like, that wouldn't surprise them. So I'm just thinking about what their relationship's like. Like maybe they're in the dark about a lot of his life, it sounds like.
Perhaps, yeah.
And yeah, for them to just be like, yeah, he's always wanted to leave. Maybe now he did it. It's like, he wouldn't have told y'all he was doing it. Like, it just seems weird. So I'm thinking, yeah, he doesn't have a really close relationship with his family.
That's what it seems like. I'd agree with you.
But he was super close to his brother, right?
He was very close to his brother who passed away. And I think that perhaps the reason why his family is really clinging to this idea that he's still alive and out there somewhere is that they've already had to deal with this massive loss of the oldest brother. So perhaps the only way they can really find peace, because he's missing, there's no evidence of him has been found. So I think perhaps it's just what they have to tell themselves so they can cope with this.
Yeah, so it's easier for them to believe that he's still out there and just maybe left home abruptly than anything bad happening.
Exactly. I feel like it's just their wishful thinking. They're just being as hopeful as they can.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, to that point, geez, how hard of a life is that for the parents, have lost one of their kids to suicide, and then now another one just
vanishes.
Vanishes, literally. So, man, okay, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So, and now this is 7 years after he went missing. Less than a mile down the road from the Maddox family home is a small cabin in a secluded wooded area. This cabin is owned by a man named Chuck Murphy. And just really quickly here, I want to show you a few photos of the cabin just so that way you can get an idea of what it looks like.
All right, let me take a look. Okay, these are pictures of the actual cabin. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's about to collapse.
Very dilapidated, yeah.
It looks like maybe there's another cabin right here.
That is just part of the cabin that has been ripped down.
Got it. So it's just rubble.
It's just some rubble.
All right, and you said it's out in the middle of nowhere?
It's out in the middle of nowhere, but it's only about a mile down the road from the Maddox family home.
Okay, so just in a wooded area.
It's in this is a very rural, heavily wooded area.
Okay, got it.
The property itself has been in the Murphy family for a very long time, and they used it as kind of like a vacation cabin or like a rental property, but it really hadn't been used in over a decade. So like the owner, this guy, Chuck Murphy, he hasn't even been on the property in 10 years. So it is super dilapidated. You can tell in the pictures. The windows and doors are all boarded up. It's been completely overrun by animals. It's just like an abandoned cabin in the middle of the woods. So in 2015, Murphy sells the cabin and the large piece of land that it's on to this property development company that's going to put like multiple houses on this lot.
Okay.
So in order to do that, obviously they need to rip the cabin down. So on August 6th of 2015, they start demolition. Okay. And the first day, everything goes very smoothly. There are many workers who are demolishing the home with no issue. That was one of the photos that I showed you, was like right in the middle of demolition.
That makes sense.
And on the second day, they start to take apart the chimney. It's like an old school, like all brick, super sturdy chimney. So they are taking it apart with a backhoe or excavator. They're ripping it apart and they make a discovery. In the chimney, they find a nude, crumpled body of a young male.
Excuse me?
Okay, so now I'm going to try to do my best to describe to you the way he was found. Like in my research, it's just kind of like confusing. So I want to describe this the best way possible.
Okay.
So he was found with his head facing down, and his legs were folded like up over his head. So like his knees are like up by his face. Like it's like an overextended fetal position, kind of scrunched down in the chimney.
Okay, kind of folded over.
He's like completely folded up.
Because he's in a chimney.
He's in the chimney.
Or the body's in a chimney. Okay.
Correct. So you'd assume he was going down the chimney, got stuck, and then his body like folded in half.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess how big is this chimney?
Well, I have some pictures here of the chimney itself.
All right, yeah, let's take a look at that.
All right, here we are. So this is the exterior of the chimney here, and then this is the interior. So this is where the body was found folded.
Yeah, so it looks no more than 3 feet wide, and that's being generous.
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably about 2.5.
So yeah, I don't see how you could start going down that very narrow chimney and then fold over. I guess
it would be a very tight fit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And are you saying that maybe he went down feet first?
No, it appears as though he went down head first.
Huh.
The placing of the body. It looks like he went down head first. But
okay, that's strange.
So the body is removed, and through DNA testing, it is identified to be Joshua Maddox.
Wow. How many years later?
7 years later.
Wow.
So the whole time that his family didn't know where he was, they thought he was missing. He was a mile down the road, folded inside of this chimney.
So was he in there, like was his body decomposing in there? Like was it there all 7 years or how long?
Yeah, it was in there. I mean, they assume for...
So it's been in there for a while.
All 7 years, yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
So obviously this is devastating to his family. Not only did they lose his brother Zach, but now they've lost him. And I am sure it was absolutely difficult because, like we said, like there was probably some peace or comfort in the idea of him still being out there. And now they know for a fact he's gone. And he was so close to home the entire time.
Yeah.
So the police are called and an investigation begins. So right off the bat, there are some really strange details. Like he's scrunched down in the chimney, but he's also nude. So that's really odd.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that part.
Yeah. So they start investigating the inside as best as they can, because again, this is a demolition site. So there have been construction workers, people are ripping things down, there's debris, there's animal matter. Like this is a difficult crime scene to work with just because of the state that it's in. But they immediately notice that the chimney on the inside has been blocked by a huge piece of furniture, like a hutch or like a big china cabinet. And it's blocking the entrance of the chimney, so that way nothing can like go in or out.
Okay.
But the strangest discovery that they make is that Joshua's clothes, so his underwear, socks, shirt, pants, all of the clothes that he was wearing are in a neatly folded pile right next to the fireplace.
What? Wait, so this is inside of the cabin?
Yes, they're folded up into a pile inside the cabin next to the fireplace.
So the fireplace has this huge furniture piece put up against the opening of the fireplace, and his clothes are also near the fireplace, folded, neatly folded. And he's, in the fireplace nude. All right. Very strange.
Very, very strange. Yeah, and this raises a lot of questions. So they perform an autopsy, which is really difficult because it's been 7 years and he's been more or less like exposed to the elements. But they can still see like a hard tissue, and they can tell that there's no evidence of trauma. So there's like no bullet holes, no knife marks, none of his bones are broken. But his legs have been positioned in such like an unnatural way for so long that they are almost like detached from his body.
Whoa.
Yeah. They don't necessarily find any drugs in his system, though. But then again, it's been so long that they can't really definitively say. So his death is ultimately ruled as an accident, and his cause of death is believed to be either dehydration or hypothermia. His death may have taken anywhere from several hours to several days. And like this was the other thing I was thinking. I wonder if maybe like positional asphyxia could have been a potential cause of death. I mean, maybe obviously the coroner would have a better idea since they were the one actually doing the autopsy. But he was in just such an awkward position. I feel like, wouldn't you think that that could also be a possibility? That certainly would have been a lot quicker than either dehydration or hypothermia. What do you think?
So are you saying he just suffocated?
Suffocated due to the position that he was in.
It's hard to imagine that I wonder how long it took to get in the position in which he was found.
Exactly. Like, how did that even occur? How did that even happen?
Yeah, so many questions.
So many questions. So what the investigators believe happened is that he was on his walk. He decided to go check out the cabin. He had probably been there before since it's abandoned and it was so close to his house, and, he was outdoors all the time. He probably decided to see if he could like maybe shimmy down the chimney. So he jumps down head first and he just like got stuck with his legs folded over his head. That's what they think.
There's no way.
You don't think that that's a possibility?
I mean, that doesn't make sense because the only reason he would do that is to get inside the cabin, right?
That's true.
And it's an abandoned cabin, has windows. I'm sure those windows are broken. Like if your goal was to get inside the cabin, there are much easier ways to get inside. So why would you do that?
Well, obviously either he or someone else was inside the cabin already, because if his clothes were already in there, he was already in there. So maybe he just wanted to see if he could fit down the chimney, Or maybe it was like a thing where, I don't know, maybe he met up with some friends there and it was like a dare or whatever. And they're like, oh, see if you can go down the chimney. Because also he was naked. Like, why would he just take all of his clothes off and then go down the chimney? So maybe they got him to like climb down there, and then they moved the hutch or the china cabinet as like a prank, and then he got stuck and his friends bailed.
Yeah, but from how you described this dude, he seemed like he didn't have much friends. Like sounds like he did solo walks in the woods all the time. And I mean, it just seems more like foul play than accident. Like, I maybe can see him looking at going down the chimney as a challenge, but still very strange, very hard to believe. Like, hey, let me go down this chimney. And if he took off his clothes, that means maybe he already evaluated or considered that he may not have enough space in there even for his clothes.
Or maybe he was like, he didn't want his clothes to get dirty, like from soot or whatever, because if he was going to go home after his walk, like he didn't want to be covered in dirt. And his family's like, what have you been up to?
Yeah, but again, then I just find it, again, hard to believe that you would get naked and put your expose your body to the soot and to get your body dirty. I'd rather get my clothes dirty. So again, it just seems very unlikely that, oh, hey, I'm just taking a walk. Oh, spontaneously, I feel like going and climbing down this chimney naked. No, he was put there. And there's something funny going on where somebody maybe try to hide something, I guess, with the furniture piece, or I don't know. It just seems so weird.
It's very weird. It's super suspicious. And unfortunately, after they rule his death an accident, that is like the end of the road in terms of official investigation by authorities.
Wow. So basically,
they just are like, that's what they think happened. They think he tried to climb down the chimney and got stuck and died, and that's it. And that's all they did with it.
So the family is basically still left in the same position by having a bunch of questions about what happened. Like, I would not be satisfied with that answer, and there's no way they could be satisfied.
Neither would I. Absolutely not. Unfortunately, there's just not much the family can do. But after they close the investigation, so the guy who actually owned the cabin, so he starts talking to the media because he feels like not enough investigation has been done in this case. There are way too many questions, way too many weird things. And since this was on his property, he feels like some sort of responsibility, right? So he tells the media that several decades ago, he put this like metal grate on top of the chimney to prevent like wildlife from going down into it and then getting into the cabin. So when they started the demolition, that grate was in place. It was on there.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with that, but does that mean that he then couldn't have entered from the top? Or if he did, he would have had to have replaced it himself?
Correct. So if he did it, if he was just by himself, he would have had to have opened the grate, gone down, presumably head first down the chimney, and then somehow closed the grate back behind him. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And that's what this guy, the owner, Chuck Murphy, he agrees. He's like, so you mean to tell me that this kid got naked, climbed onto my roof, removed the grate, jumped in, and then put the grate back on, got stuck and died? Like that just, it just doesn't add up. That's so strange.
Right. This guy's on our side. Like he's just like, this explanation that the police are giving does not cut it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what he comes out and says to the media. But again, nothing, because the investigation has been closed, nothing really comes of that.
I mean, it's also strange that there weren't any signs of trauma on his body, right? So, like, I want to believe that something bad, nefarious happened, but, I mean, the evidence also doesn't show that that's the case.
But that's also really tricky because, again, it's been 7 years. So the only thing that they can really do is just check the hard tissue. So, and I mean, his body had been pretty badly decayed because he's been in this chimney outside being exposed for many, many years. So, I mean, there are a lot of theories when it comes to this case. And one of them is that maybe he went to the cabin to maybe meet up with someone for some sort of encounter, could have been drug related. So something bad happens and the person that he meets up with just kind of panics and puts his body in the chimney.
Well, I assume when they were investigating his death that they spoke to the people closest to him, right? Like his friends.
They talked to his family, and his family said that no, like he is not known to ever do drugs. But then again, as we've already said, it doesn't seem like he was super close to his family. Like maybe there was some sort of distance there. And also, like, he's a teenage kid. Do you think he's really going to openly say to his dad and his sisters that he's doing drugs, you know?
Yeah, but again, that story seems very unlikely. I mean, at that point, you can just make up anything as a possibility. So to say that he was potentially meeting there with somebody for some drug-related activities and something went wrong, like, he is just making up things at this point. But the other thing I was thinking was, what about his cell phone? Like, I know this is pre-smartphone era, but everybody had a cell phone at that age. Or did he? I mean, potentially not, because he was in high school. So did he have a cell phone?
I've never found any evidence on that, no.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that would have come up if he did have a cell phone.
Absolutely, it would have come up.
Because, family would have been calling that as soon as he went missing. Yeah, definitely seems, I'm still thinking something bad went down and somebody was trying to cover it up. Like, somebody was trying to hide that body is what I'm left with.
I feel, that he was there with a group of people who maybe tried to pull a prank on him and tried to get him into the chimney. And I think I personally feel that that's what happened.
Honestly, no offense, but I think your theory is kind of trash. And let it be known that I think I should be the host of this show. But anyways, that one's ripe for speculation. So,
It's just such a big question mark. Like, what actually happened to him? Like, it's so strange and it's so weird. And it's just crazy that he was in a cabin in the chimney just a mile down the street from his house. Like, that's even more, it's just so bizarre.
Yeah, again, it sounds like the perfect hiding spot.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking, somebody stashed his body there, wanted to hide it.
Well, that is kind of the end of the road with this story. So how do you think the pictures that I sent you, and your theory in the beginning?
So my theory that a dude killed another dude for playing crappy songs on the guitar may have been a little off the mark, but I think I should get some credit for my creativity. I did get the setting correct and was able to determine we were in Colorado. But I mean, I was pretty much wrong about everything else. And also, we still don't really know what happened. Like, there was no resolution.
We don't really know. There truly is no resolution to this.
It's super open-ended.
Super open-ended. I think this is an extremely fascinating case. Very heartbreaking. But it's just definitely one that will leave you scratching your head.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that is all we have for you for this episode. So thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you all. And we will see you on the next one.
Until next time, y'all. Bye.
Bye-bye.